Well, good evening, and I'm here with Lisa Greening from Turn the Page St. Louis, Turn the Page STL, and she's going to tell us a little bit about herself and her background first. So, Lisa, please take it away.
Thank you, Sam, Dr. Bomarito, for having me on your program today. I'm honored. A little bit about me. I'm Lisa Greening. I was born and raised in St. Louis, a lover of books. I even remember the way my grandmother smelled when she would read to me, or the Richard Scarry books that my dad would read to me over and over. I was thinking about it was Goodnight Little Bear, over and over and over, and what pleasure reading always gave me. And when I went to college, I went to Johns Hopkins University. I wanted at that time to go, wanted to get a degree in international studies and tour the world and go in the Peace Corps or the Foreign Service. I wasn't sure. And when I landed in Baltimore, I got involved in a tutoring program with children from East Baltimore. And twice a week, I would go on a bus and pick up, there was about 35 kids that were struggling in school, and bring them to the Johns Hopkins campus, and we paired them with people to help with homework. And it was a really eye-opening experience in my life to know that kids right here in the United States were getting such an inferior education than I had gotten, and were struggling with reading. So when I graduated, got my master's of education at the same time, came back to St. Louis and thought maybe I'd be a teacher. Well, that is the most difficult job in the world. And so I took a little turn and I said, what would be an easier job? So I worked at a bookstore. I worked at Paul's Books in University City, and ended up closing that store because the big Barnes & Noble came into town and Borders.
There was a movie like that. I remember
there is a movie like that. And I went down to Left Bank Books, and they were going through a similar crisis, and publishing was going through a big crisis then. This is before Amazon, where things were not getting published if they weren't being purchased by Barnes & Noble or Borders. So in belief in democracy and in freedom of speech, I took out a loan and became a partner at Left Bank Books. And I retained my partnership until the pandemic hit, actually, last year, and gifted the stock back to the store. But being surrounded for years of great literary authors, great readers in our community, I could see the rift moving and dividing the haves and the have-nots. And I also knew that you have to be able to read to be an active member of our society, and to be a thinker, and to have power. And so after having children, I was hired my first nonprofit job to be the director of Ready Readers. It's a great program. We had about 500 volunteer readers reading to about 10,000 low-income preschool kids a week and giving them books. But we weren't changing the needle, the direction for our kids in our lowest performing districts. We just weren't moving the needle. So, Sam, should I jump to how?
Oh, yeah, I was about to say that I'm going to chime in here with the next question, because that's a perfect segue into telling us about Turn the Page St. Louis, and that's where I first met you, and the wonderful people that you've gotten together, and just the amazing cadre of people that you've got from a variety. Well, I'm doing your interview. No, you need to tell us all about that. And because it is just such an amazing story. I'm coming off of one of your meetings this week, and it's just like, they're always uplifting. So tell us what's going on and who all's involved in all that.
Well, so a few years ago, I started meeting at Ready Readers, a group of literacy nonprofits and public libraries, anybody that touched kids that were in our lower income communities with literacy. And we have a plethora of great programs, literacy programs in St. Louis, but it's very fragmented. And a lot of people didn't know what other people were doing. So that was the reason I brought people together. And we started looking at the first benchmark that you can really look at, apples to apples, is third grade reading proficiency score exams. That's the same exam that's given to everybody across the state. And we were looking at some districts, and I was floored by only 15% of kids exiting third grade in the Normandy School District were able to pass the test. In the St. Louis Public Schools, 17% of the kids were able to pass the test, yet 2 schools in St. Louis Public Schools, Malincrot and Kennard, the gifted and talented schools, were the top 2 performing schools in the state of Missouri. 7 schools in the St. Louis Public Schools, not one child passed, and I'm not saying did well, passed the third grade reading proficiency exam. And so we're sitting around this group of people, and a woman named Lisa Kirkhoff, who's with the Missouri Humanities Council, and her territory is the whole state of Missouri, said, there is something really great going on in Kansas City. Their mayor has an initiative for their whole city to increase literacy. And we're looking at increases 10, 20% more children are reading proficiently over 5 or 6 years. And I said, okay, let's road trip. This is back when we could road trip. Let's road trip to Kansas City and see what they're doing there. We met with a man named Mike English, who we also brought to St. Louis a few times, who's the director of Turn the Page KC. And he said, we are a chapter of the National Campaign for Grade Level Reading. And we use their framework, and we use their access to national big resources, money, to plug the holes in so that our children have the same opportunities in those wealthier school districts. So he had me in the first sentence. And I said, we need to bring this to St. Louis. And there's 200 chapters in the National Campaign for Grade Level Reading in this state, in the United States, but St. Louis did not have one. So we got some money together. We applied. We actually went to interview to find somebody to run Turn the Page STL. By the way, when we met with Turn the Page KC, I just love their name. So I said, can we call ourselves Turn the Page STL? And we're going to meet in the center in Jefferson City, because so many of our issues that we have in St. Louis and Kansas City around education are problems that come out of Jefferson City. But that's a segue. We applied to be a chapter. We got some money together. We interviewed to hire somebody to run it. And we offered the job to a wonderful woman. And she said, let me think about it. And she called me back a few days later. I'll always remember this, sitting in my car. And she said, this is just not what I want to do right now in my life. I want something a little more stable. I want to work with lots of people. I don't really want to go out on my own like this. And I got off the phone with her and I said, but I do. I want to do this. So I called my board president of Ready Readers and I said, I would like to, I don't know what the right word is, retire. I'll give you 3 months to find my replacement. And I went to my board then I was a board member, so I resigned of the board. I went to my 3 other board members at the time. That was Lisa Kirkhoff, Julius B. Anthony with St. Louis Black Authors of Children's Literature, and Nicole Clausen, who's the head of youth services for the St. Louis County Library. And I submitted my resume, and they interviewed me, and they hired me. And the rest is history. Now we're moving along,
and that is the perfect segue into the next part, which is, what are you guys? Who's all involved? And I'm proud to say that we've got a couple of International Literacy Association groups involved in this. But who all's involved? Because it's a an amazing group of people. And what happens at the meetings and what happens is like magic to me. But tell us about who all's coming.
We have kind of going down two roads. We're kind of going down two roads. We have and Sam, you're involved with both you're on both roads here. We've got, we started primarily with the pandemic hit. We started with just meeting via Zoom and creating this newsletter so that we could all get to know each other and share resources. And we call that the Literacy Collaborative. But the other road.
Buzz from you there. I don't know what's.
I know, it's somebody calling and my phone is off. I'm sorry.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
So we call it the Literacy Collaborative. And we meet, there's about 25 of us. Sam, you are one of them, primarily nonprofits and public libraries. And we're just connecting dots between our organizations. We also are on a second road, which we spent this past year figuring out what is the need and meeting with, so we have about 60 stakeholders right now. They're representative of each of the 7 Promise Zone school districts, which is our geographic area, 13 charter schools that are in that geographic area, the public library systems. We have 3 major public library systems in St. Louis, all the area non-for-profits, our funders. We've got 8 major funders of this initiative. Other collaboratives like Ready by 21, United for Children, the Missouri Literacy Association, and the St. Louis Regional Literacy Association. We've got, and most importantly, I can never forget this, we have a lot of families and parents on these as stakeholders telling us directly what the history and what are the issues of why their child exits 3rd grade not reading proficiently. So this past year, we wrote a collective impact strategic plan where we had focus groups and meetings and surveys, and we put together a needs assessment. And then we brought everybody together on Zoom through 22 meetings over this summer about root causes. Why is this happening? Why are our children not reading proficiently? And why here? Why here in St. Louis? What makes it unique here in St. Louis? And not to bore you, but then we wrote a logic model of inputs and outputs and outcomes based on 5 major factors about why children exit 3rd grade not reading proficiently from our report. And I'm happy to go through those 5 factors, which lead to really what we're doing now and what we're going to be doing, if that helps. Okay,
so, and that is just an amazing, that's one half of it. And that's just an amazing story in and of itself. So we're kind of like in the place of where things are going to be becoming. Okay.
Right. We haven't done yet. We haven't done.
But you have, but I know there are local professors involved in this as well.
Sorry, universities.
The different stakeholders all talk to each other, and that's just wonderful. And just to put a little thing in for something that was near and dear to my heart, I know this story, but could you tell us what happened to Walbridge School? And what?
Oh, absolutely.
That's a near and dear to me because I am a alumni. That's where I went to school in St. Louis when I was a kid. So tell us what happened with Walbridge.
Walbridge School. Well, and you don't even know half the story of what happened after Walbridge. But so I'm a big advocate. I'm a big advocate for real high quality children's literature. And I'm a big advocate for our young children learning through play. And I've never been a device person. I just have to be honest with you. And, but when the pandemic hit and our kids were home with no internet access, I mean, we know that 50% of families north of Delmar, which Sam, you can explain that to your 50% of families north of Delmar do not have access to high-speed internet. We knew that divide was going to go even greater. So we wrote we wrote a grant, and then a professor at University of Missouri St. Louis uh, was able to get a very large grant. We were able to give children at Walbridge in honor of Sam, and about 300 children in Normandy. This was the first round of it, and about 100 kids in South St. Louis City, a PBS Kids Playtime Pad, which has over 80 apps in it. You do not need Wi-Fi. It actually has a video camera. It's directed for children ages 2 to 8, and everybody else got a bunch of books written by local African-American writers, and other things like crayons and activity books and snacks. And so we called them our at-home learning kits. Well, it took off, Sam. It took off. So then several other big family foundations in St. Louis wanted to help. So there are 2,000 preschool age children that attend the St. Louis public schools. And every single one of them now has a PBS Kids Playtime Pad and books and activity sheets so that they could stay with their education and their reading and learning to read. And we were able to get money for almost, I think it was 1,000 more kids in Normandy. So it wasn't part of Turn the Page STL's mission. It was, oh my gosh, we're in a pandemic. We need to do something now, and it's okay to take a breath, and it's okay to get these resources to these kids. Strategic plans be damned. Yeah. We're gonna set those aside, right? We're gonna set those plans aside for right now. We're gonna get to the immediate needs of the kids. We also, through those kits, we're able to get more PPE supplies and gloves and hand sanitizer and stuff like that to those families.
Okay, so, and as we're telling tales of getting resources to people, I know Dr. Shay
Kirkhoff.
Thank you. Oh, I am so embarrassed. I may have to edit that out. Okay, but Shay has done some amazing things too. And could you just quickly?
I sure will. So, Dr. Kirkhoff was introduced to me by Sam, and is one of the best people I've met this year. She is new to the St. Louis area, but worked with DESE, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education in the state of Missouri, for a federal grant for literacy, and was awarded a $18 million grant for the state of Missouri. And she had $9 million of it earmarked for St. Louis. And so each district, we have 29 school districts in St. Louis County. Each school district could apply for this professional development literacy grant. And her and I got together and we said, we need to make sure that our lowest performing districts get this money. So I worked with the 7 Promise Zone school districts. Every single school district of those 7 submitted the application. It was not easy, but we got them all in. And we worked at the 13 charter schools. And today it was announced. This morning it was announced.
Wow.
So 5 of the 7 Promise Zone school districts were awarded this multi-million-dollar professional development grant around UMSL professors coming in and teaching teachers how to teach a child to read, how to understand phonemics and phonology through a culturally competent lens. And the best part of my day today was sending out congratulations to these districts and charter schools. And they are so thrilled. So Dr. Kirkhoff, hats off to you. And one of our 5 initiatives that we will be diving into this year is teacher preparedness, and making sure that all of our pre-K through 3rd grade teachers are prepared to teach children how to read.
Okay, so, and while we're talking about, and by the way, who got all these people together? Who was that again?
Sam Bomarito.
Oh gosh, no. Oh, no. I came up, no. I'm looking at her, okay? I mean, getting St. Louis turned the page together and getting all these resources together and getting these people and getting a plan together that I haven't even given you time to talk about yet. Uh, th- uh, that's all you, and God bless you for that. Um, Talk to me about Julius Anthony and the St. Louis Black Authors for a moment, because he's another one of the folks that is involved in all this.
So he is on my board of directors, and I remember about 3 years ago we were in a parking lot, and I said, I want this to happen. I want us to have a chapter here, but I just don't know if I have the bandwidth. And he looked me in the eyes. He goes, "Make it work." Make it work. And I'm like, okay, all right. So he is on my board, and right now our project is along the lines of teacher preparedness, is that we're bringing together a speaker series. We're calling it a speaker series, Racially Relevant Literacy in Pre-K through the third grade classroom. And Dr. Rochelle Washington will be our first speaker in March. We will have that date available to all of you next week, confirming that date, but it will be a quarterly speaker series with a nationally recognized educator on how to teach predominantly Black and Brown young children to be excellent readers. And we know that I had my 60 stakeholders, obviously, that could come to this quarterly speaker series. But no, Julius, no, he has to go ahead and get 400 new members to the St. Louis Literacy Association, Regional Literacy Association. 400 St. Louis public school teachers are now members of the St. Louis Regional Literacy Association, and all 400 members will be attending this quarterly speaker series. And he hasn't stopped. So he's going district to district to district to getting more teachers involved with the St. Louis Regional Literacy Association and getting them on these quarterly speaker series, which includes the speaking engagement, but a month later includes mentoring for teachers that want to take it one step further in the classroom.
Okay, and this is what happens when you start getting all these people together with resources, with a very strong leader who I'm looking at, who has a plan. I'm kind of looking at the clock and seeing that we probably have to be wrapping up soon, but I want to make an appointment with you. I think sometime later, maybe sometime in late summer, like right now, we might label today's interview what things are likely to become. I'd like to know what happened. So I'm going to hold you to maybe at the end of summer, telling us about how all these initiatives have worked out, about how getting all these different people together has worked out. So, but now that brings us to that wonderful time of your final remarks. So,
we have the other big piece of this is community awareness, and we hired a marketing firm in last fall, and it has been a struggle figuring out how do we tell the story and how do we empower and inspire all families and to bring reading into their home and be advocates for their children in the schools. And we're still debating, we're still reading, we're still looking at the history, we're still talking to families. So I know that Sam's going to be sharing our website. It's going to be revamped soon. We will be getting a new logo, and we will start a marketing blitz soon, a report to the community specifically. We're looking at in March, and we hope that everyone will bookmark our website so that you know what is going on in the St. Louis community regarding literacy.
Okay, and I would say if there are people that are interested in supporting your organization, of course, I'm sure there are ways to do that through the website. And I just can't wait to talk to you maybe September, July, August, September, sometime in there to see how all this is playing out. So thank you so much for everything you do. And
Yeah.
keep on, well, I say this to Julia.
And may we have this video in person. Wouldn't that be amazing if we were all had our vaccinations and we could meet and see each other and
Oh, I can't,
hug each
I
other?
can't wait. I can't wait for that. I am tired, very like everyone else. I'm tired of the new normal. I can't wait for the new normal. And just
But let's not go back to the old ways. In
Oh, no.
education, we got too much work to do. So let's move forward.
Right. Well, and you are certainly trailblazing and you are getting the right people together and getting them to talk and work with one another. And Turn the Page St. Louis is, everybody bookmark that for sure, because you're going to be hearing more good things from it. So thanks so much.
Thank you, Sam. And remember, literacy is a social justice issue. There's nothing. The way you can make sure people don't succeed in life is to make sure they're illiterate. So we've got a lot of work to do.
A lot. And I'm glad to have somebody like you at the helm. I always end these interviews with a Zoom wave. So wait a minute. There we go. Zoom wave. Okay. And thanks for all you do. And looking forward to talking to you maybe at the end of summer. And that's going to be a wrap.